Good morning, Jim Laird, joining you live from Largo, Florida. Had a really fun day yesterday. We had Wendy Pettit on in the morning on our 9 o'clock show. And then I did an interview with Mr. Stan Efferding yesterday at 3 p.m. Stan's on the West Coast, so don't want to get him out of bed too early. So you can check out both those interviews if you want to listen to, Wendy and Leland talk yesterday. And if you want to listen to Stan and I go Meathead in the afternoon, check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. We've got actually our thyroid webinar tomorrow. We're going to explain to you about our thyroid course, how it works and how it can help you. So if you want to check that out, you can go down in the description, set a reminder for tomorrow. Dr. Stillman should be joining us shortly. It's really interesting. Posted a couple, to me, not controversial, but to some people, controversial things on Instagram here recently. And James, thank you so much. Great interview with Stan. I really appreciate the feedback. It's really interesting because I posted a couple things that I don't really think are controversial, but certain people think.
Good morning, everyone.
On Instagram. And it's really interesting. Like, I love disagreement. Like, I actually read basically things that are the opposite of what I believe. So I can kind of challenge my views, maybe learn some new things, whether that's exercise. I'm trying out. I bought all these new clothes, Dr. Stillman. This is one of my favorite shirts so far. I've had to get a whole new wardrobe because I've lost so much weight in the last month. But it's really interesting. These people will not only tell you what they think, which is totally fine, but we'll personally attack you. We'll call you every name under the book, from a murderer to this to that. And it's really sad, the state of our society right now. And just a little heads up for you. If you're not getting outside in nature, if you're not taking care of your fundamental habits, now is the time to double down, because we are about to get bombarded with propaganda this fall and winter like you've never seen. You think the last time was bad? They're doubling down harder this time. So you better get yourself in a good place so you can handle the what would be the right word, doctor?
I don't know. The propaganda. It's a good word.
The giant cart of cow manure that is coming your way. Okay, it's coming, and it's coming hard. Thank you, Dave.
Got it. Hard to believe it's happening again.
Dave in the back. Oh, I can believe it. They've told us it's going to happen again.
Yeah.
This time, according to our favorite philanthropist, this time it's really going to get your attention with a smirk like that. So on to today's topic, which we started yesterday, and then Wendy joined us. It was a great interview yesterday. Like I said before, go watch that interview. And then if you want the other side, the meathead side, go watch Stan and I banter. It was pretty fun. So,
can you define a meathead, Jim?
Define a meathead?
Can you define what's a meathead, Jim?
Well, usually shaved head, usually lifts weights, grunts a little bit, but also is most meatheads I know are kind of highly intellectual at the same time. And Stan is definitely in that department. So
how did that become a term, meathead?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think we should do if somebody wants to copy IA that or chat GPT, where did
right now?
Yeah, where did the term meathead come from? Originally it was from the show Archie Bunker show. The nickname for his son-in-law was Meathead, right? And he is a meathead. He's a little left, but I can't remember the name of the guy. It was a little before your time, Dr. Stillman.
An ungainly, dull, or stupid person, someone who is lazy, disrespectful, and or whose beliefs and philosophies clash with one another.
That's a meathead?
Yeah, the second definition is a large, muscular, stupid man, especially an athlete. And the third, Jim, you'll love this one, is a member of the Canadian Forces Military Police.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, well, I could have been in I don't speak French. I don't speak French, so I can't be a member of the Military Forces Special Police in Canada, especially now.
That's really a requirement?
Yeah, one of the reasons Quebec is kind of not very liked. Well, so Pierre Trudeau, who is Justin Trudeau's father, supposedly, basically put a rule in that, like, so maybe I think less than it's about, and I have nothing against French Canadians. I know a bunch of French Canadians are great people, but
Nothing.
it would be like making
Not even a little tiny thing.
It would be like making Spanish the second official language of the United States.
Okay.
So like Quebec is like makes up like 10% of the population, and all of them are bilingual. None of them just speak French. Like there's more Ukraine. Like we had in Alberta, we have Ukrainian speakers, like lots of Ukrainian speakers. So basically, Pierre Trudeau made it law that everywhere in Canada had to have French and English. And so then if you had a federal job, you had to speak French and English. So even like the RCMP up in the Northwest Territories who are dealing with the Inuit, they have to speak French. So it really gives the French people a humongous advantage. But that's a whole different story. But on to our topic, how nitric oxide can help you stay fit and healthy. Dr. Stillman, let's talk a little bit about nitric oxide. What is it? What does it do? And why are we seeing so many people that are having the side effects of lack of nitric oxide in their life today?
So nitric oxide is a signaling molecule made from nitrogen and oxygen, hence the name. It's part of it does a couple of different things. So I said it's a signaling molecule. What that means is your body uses it to run and signal and control certain processes. It is also part of your respiratory burst. So when your immune system sees something that it wants to destroy, which is not uncommon, it will create this respiratory burst where it creates lots of free radicals, one of which is nitric oxide, in order to destroy that thing. So that's the 50,000 foot view of nitric oxide. It's very important in that when nitric oxide signaling gets deranged, lots of problems occur, problems that are very important to people. So when you think about, and the other thing it is a vasodilator. So I said it's a signaling molecule. Vasodilation is one of the key things that it does. So when I see someone who's got, let's say, brain fog, fatigue, poor blood flow to different parts of their body, I think maybe this is a nitric oxide problem. When I see someone who has immune problems, I think nitric oxide may be somehow involved. Where I'm very wary of jumping into simplistic thinking with nitric oxide is when people start to talk about boosting it. So it's very, very fashionable, very attractive to want to boost things that are good. So you'll see some study and it says, nitric oxide level increases of 50% driven by this drug or this supplement or this whatever led to a 75% improvement in X, Y, or Z. And then people go out and buy that supplement or that medication, or they do that biohack or whatever. And that's fine. But I think the problem is that people will run after these fancy biohacks and supplements because nitric oxide is so fundamental to your health, your body controls its production exquisitely. And that's one of the reasons why some of the drugs that are most likely to cause immune problems, things like hydralazine is the one that I'm thinking of, but there's a couple others that escape my immediate recall. It's partly because they derange nitric oxide signaling. And hydralazine is a primary suspect or a frequent cause of drug-induced lupus, which is terrible. So my point with all that is just this. There's a lot of noise about things like nitric oxide. In clinical practice, it becomes very, very, very simple. Get everyone to go outside and get some sunlight on their skin to support nitric oxide synthase in the skin. Get them to eat enough arginine from nuts and seeds so that they have healthy arginine levels in the blood so that they can make nitric oxide. Get them enough of the relevant micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, amino acids. Well, amino acids are not micronutrients, but vitamins and minerals to fuel nitric oxide production, because you do need those catalysts and you need catalysts and you need minerals and vitamins to make that happen. Cofactors, that was the word I was looking for. So do that, eat a nutrient dense diet, drink high quality water that's not going to, wreck your physiology with toxic waste that it's, basically added or allowed to contaminate our municipal drinking supplies, as well as plastics and bottled waters, right?
Let's see. Breathe through your nose.
Breathing
as
through
much
your
as
nose. Nitric
possible.
oxide is made in the nasal passages, so you can increase nitric oxide in your lungs by breathing through your nose instead of your mouth. It's one of the reasons why we think nasal breathers are technically smarter and healthier than people who breathe through their mouths. Getting rest at night, very important, because it allows your body to rest and regenerate all of these pathways and all the cellular machinery necessary to make nitric oxide. And then, I'm trying to go through our 5 fundamentals for this, which I think is obvious to you and probably not so obvious to the people listening to this. I'm sure there's probably some research that healthy social interaction, which is the 5th of our 5 fundamentals, improves nitric oxide signaling. I haven't looked it up. Otherwise, I'd be talking about it right now, but I'm sure if it
Just
was hard
overall
enough,
being
I'll
healthier
find
in
it.
general, right?
Well, that's
But
the bottom line here is that people want to chase shiny objects and they're like, oh, I want to heard about nitric oxide. I took this supplement. I did this thing, blah, blah,
right.
blah, blah, blah. That's fine. But the vast majority of what you need in order to have healthy, optimal nitric oxide signaling is in food, and it is triggered by light.
Yeah, and if you're relying on Cialis, Viagra, arginine supplements, even beet juice, and that's another thing too. Like, you don't want to be nuking the microbiome in your mouth with mouthwash constantly. That destroys your ability to make nitric oxide as well. But if you're relying on all those props, but you're basically living a horrible lifestyle, eventually that house of cards is going to come down. It's going to go from 5 milligrams of Cialis worked really good, but it stopped working. I got to take 10. Now I got to take 20.
Right.
Now I'm taking 30, and it's barely working.
And this is why I'm such a believer in continuity of care, in getting repeat labs, in seeing where someone's moving, where they're going, finding problems before they emerge. I'm going to be going over some of the labs that I run for patients on my own labs on Monday in the masterclass on YouTube.
That's already up. You can set a reminder for that.
It'll be streaming everywhere, so you can tune in.
But you can go to our pages and you can actually set a reminder because it's already there. So you can look it up and set a reminder for it so that when it comes on, it pops up on your phone or your computer or wherever you decide to watch it.
Yeah, and one of the other things that I've been seeing is just the toxic burden that people accumulate and they have. We did a NutriVal recently on someone, and their mercury level was like 9, which is pretty high. Twice what I would expect in most people.
And this is somebody that takes really good care of themselves. This isn't somebody who's like a disaster, right? So
a lot of people, they don't understand that the things they've heard in the health and fitness world are half-baked and incomplete. And oftentimes they'll hear sort of half the story and they'll do that half very aggressively, very religiously, but they're missing critical components. And that's what you and I have to identify as coaches, or when I'm a doctor, being a doctor. James has a question. I drink an arugula smoothie in the morning, which is supposed to be high in nitric oxide. It drops my blood pressure quickly. Yes, James, I'm not surprised by that. I do not know how you stomach an arugula smoothie. That is such a bitter green. It's so intense. The thing about blood pressure, we see a lot of high blood pressure. We are planning to do a webinar on high blood pressure at the end of October. But September, end of September. That's not set up yet. Be on the mailing list. You'll get the notification when that comes out, because we see a lot of people struggling with high blood pressure. We did a episode on this high blood pressure HRV the other day, maybe a week ago.
Yeah.
With
the Oura Ring data from a client we were working with.
Right. And there's so many things you can do to fix somebody's blood pressure, but it all comes down to compliance. It all comes down to, are they going to do it? That was, you had a great call with Stan Efferding yesterday. Where did that stream? Did that stream everywhere?
It's on YouTube. It's on your Twitter. It's I even retweeted your Twitter post of it. But what Stan's favorite saying is compliance is a science. And he's, just like us, and just like Wendy said yesterday, most people just don't comply. And if they tell you they are, they're probably not,
And you got to get real. You got to find out what they're not doing.
That is correct. And that's why no matter what it's at, whether it's business, whether it's sports, usually most people that are struggling it's a struggle to do the basic fundamental things consistently over time, and then they start looking for fancy things and they don't have the basic foundations down.
That's it.
That's, I mean, I
It's
mean,
not.
I hate to say this every time we come on here, but it's the truth, right?
It's the truth. It's the truth. And so I go to these anti-aging conferences, or I listen to these podcasts or whatever, and they're like nitric oxide this, nitric oxide that, and this and that and the other thing and this other thing. And I'm just like, you know what? I just get my patients healthy. I just get them eating the right diet. I look at their supplementation regimens. I tailor them to their labs. I get them to sauna. I get them to, maybe do a little of this and a little of that, some weight training, and man, they just flourish. I don't need
Yeah,
all this stuff.
it's not rocket science.
It's not
But
rocket science.
getting people to actually do it is where the trick is. And like Stan made a really good point yesterday, especially with weight loss. He's like, I don't want my people hungry. He's like, that's why I love the vertical diet, because it's a, the foods in it are very satiating, but are lower calorie foods. And he's like, so if I'm trying to gain weight, gain mass, I can eat a whole bunch of food without digestive stress. And then if I have someone who's trying to drop body fat, they're not hungry, because as soon as if you're walking around hungry all the time, you're not going to have good outcome.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
I think I actually have some calculations on nitric oxide somewhere I did a long time ago.
Roderick, sad part is anti-aging health and wellness aesthetic industry continues use advocate of sunscreen. I absolutely agree that it's really sad. And obviously, we have a natural sunscreen. What is it? Badger Balm, that we recommend if you absolutely have to use it.
Yeah.
But, morning sun and getting a tan, like people, melanin is so positive. Having a tan is so good for your health. It's just kind of been demonized, and people have lied and over again about how evil the sun is. And I agree absolutely 100%. It's really sad. And that's one of the biggest reasons why people are struggling today, is because they live an indoor life.
It's true.
They don't use common sense. They slather up with sunscreen and bake for 2 hours in the sun with sunglasses on, and they wonder why they have problems.
And I'm just real with my patients. I just say, look, the sun reduces all-cause mortality. And I don't know if you heard me say this, Jim, but it's interesting, that study that I based that on, the melanoma in southern Sweden study trial. Mm-hmm. One of their metrics for sun exposure was actually tanning bed use, which isn't technically sun exposure. And arguably, of all the forms of UV light exposure, it is the worst by a mile, by a long mile.
Oh, for sure.
And what's funny about that, right, is you look at their metrics for sun exposure, and they're extremely crude. They're not exacting at all.
No.
The other thing about this is that, it does, and what I was saying when I get real with my patients is, if you get a lot of sun, you're likely to live a lot longer with a much better quality of life, but you are going to look older. And that's just life. And there's lots of cool anti-aging, regenerative. Yeah,
I don't know about that. I don't know.
Yeah, photo aging is 100% UVA.
Do you think I look older than my age?
No, I think you look your age.
Okay, fair.
And there's a lot of other factors to this too, though, which we agree on.
Right.
And that's something that is also missed. You get people who are like, well, I feel like I look old for my age. And it's like, well, what do you eat? They're like, well, I don't eat a lot. Well, okay, maybe you don't eat enough.
Or I'm eating
but one of the things I wanted
American diet.
I wanted to show people really quickly is this little screen.
I mean, but if you look at like the traditional hunter-gatherer tribes, and they have them all lined up, and you have their older guys there. I mean, they look aged, but they don't look like they have excessive sun damage.
No, I know. I'm not saying like excessive sun damage, but some of the people I would see in the hospital who never got any sun and were dying at like 50 of cancer, they're perfect skin. It's just flawless.
Sure.
I mean, so if you want to be a pretty corpse, go ahead and don't get any
sun. You want to be a porcelain doll, go for it. Not my idea of a good time.
So I decided to share this screen. This is some calculations from different protein powders that I've done over the past. If you want more on this, there's a premium post where I break down different protein powders, why I like some, why I don't like others, in my premium Substack. That's why it's worth the $20 a month subscription. I give you these like breakdowns showing you how you can save money on stuff like this. The goal with the premium is to actually save people the cost of their subscription. And if I don't do that, it's because you're not showing up to the Q&As and asking the right questions. But anyway, so look at the difference in these different protein powders. So the arginine content per 100 grams of and these are all dry, not hydrated, but arginine in whey, it's only 1.6 grams per 100 gram, right? In pea protein powder, it's 6.6 grams per 100 grams. In rice, it's 6.6 grams per 100 grams. in walnuts, it's sorry, it's there's 2.2 grams of arginine. Oh shoot, I didn't finish this calculation. But anyway, you can see there's a lot of arginine in nuts, and that's one reason why I tell people to eat nuts and seeds. Bone broth protein powder, which I love recommending to people, also high in arginine, which is one reason why I like to not just use one collagen powder. I'll use a collagen powder, and then I'll use a whey protein powder because they've got different amino acid profiles. And there's another important amino acid in bone broth and whey, cysteine. Cysteine's much higher in whey and is much lower in bone broth protein powder. So there's all these trade-offs, right? There's all these reasons why Jim and I say things sometimes very casually, like, oh, I vary my protein powder, and then people don't realize there's like 101 different reasons why we do that, and we don't often or always have all the time to explain it, and we don't really feel like explaining it all every single day in minute detail. We just want to give you
Well,
the
we
value
we also try and use real bone broth, or as I affectionately refer to it as snot, as much as we can.
That's right. So on that note, Jim, I think that's enough for today. What do you think?
It is. Come check out our thyroid webinar tomorrow morning.
Thyroid webinar, 11 a.m., streaming to all the places you're used to us streaming to.
All the places.
We're going to be revealing what we found in coaching 60 people through a thyroid program.
Yep. We're going to tell you about how that course is going to help you get where you want to go.
Yeah, the course is got some rave reviews. Are the reviews up on the page, Jim?
I think they are on the checkout page, but I'm sure we'll go over them tomorrow.
Yes, we will.
Maybe you can even play some of the videos on the webinar.
Yeah, we can do that. I don't know if it'll come through on the audio, but we'll try.
It should.
We'll find out. Right.
Maybe.
Okay. All right, everyone. Take care. Have a great day. Get outside.
Go get up.